and welcome to my studio. My name's Jane Lindsey and I run a business called Snapdragon Life. Today I am making a pincushion for an order and I thought you might like to see how I do it. So this is the kind of pincushion I'm making. This is my own pincushion. It's very old, rather battered, but it's got that nice squidgy feel. So it's made from plant dyed fabrics and it's a little cylinder, so it's a strip and then two circles, and the strip I do freehand machine embroidery on. So the one that has been ordered that I'm going to make up, I am going to use this plant dyed velvet. This is dead stock cotton velvet that I got, and then I have dyed it with tansy from the garden, and it gives this, it's a really, I'm not even sure that you can see it on the film properly, but it's a lovely kind of deep soft gold, and I think that the colour combined with the squishiness of the velvet is really, really nice. And then for the base, the bit that goes on your sewing table, I'm going to use this darker kind of olivey plant dyed velvet, and for the top I'm not quite decided yet. I might use this really bright, this was dyed with Sweet Sicily, it's a lovely linen, so I might use this, or I might use something that's a little bit less vibrant. I will make that decision at the end when I'm piecing it together. So what I'm going to do is, with this, I cut a strip of this velvet. See, this is just like a plain strip, and then this is my template for making the tops and bottoms. I know that they're exactly the same size as my jar lid, so I shall cut that out and then I will show you my sewing machine. So I have my strip here and I have my sewing machine. To do the freehand machine embroidery, I need to swap off this normal foot and put on what is called a darning foot. And this just holds the thread while you are embroidering. If you can see, when I put it down, there is still a gap underneath it. So I'm going to thread up the machine with some nice cotton thread, and then I'm going to embroider this strip. Right, so here's my fabric. First of all, make sure that the pile is going down the way, so you can stroke your pincushion. Then I'm going to start here, put my needle down and begin to sew. The reason that I start at the halfway up there is because if you start down here, you tend to get kind of like a churn of all of the raw edge. And now I'm going to switch the sound off and you can watch me sewing. I've decided in the end to go for a slightly duller colour of linen for the top. So this is going to be the top on here. I've just drawn around my lid. I like the top and the bottom to both be slightly smaller than the sort of the circumference of this once they're seamed, because that pulls them in and it kind of makes them more squidgy. So that is going to be the top, and then the bottom is going to be this nice kind of greyish olive colour. And again, I'm going to just draw around my lid and cut it out. Now I sew the top bit first because the opening for stuffing it is going to be at the bottom of the thing. So I'll get all of the top done, and then I sew almost round the bottom. Then I turn it inside out and stuff it. But you'll see all of those steps. Turn this back inside. This is the top, this is the top, and I'm going to sew around it. And I need to leave a space so that I will be able to turn it and stuff it. But I'm going to go back round to make sure that the seams are really strong. So here we are. Right, the next step is just to turn this. So find the opening and then very gently just turn it inside out. Through the hole. And it's very important to get it back into shape at this stage before you stuff it. So there we are, one little pincushion looking slightly deflated. Then the next thing that I do is I stuff it. So get my funnel, the funnel here, and I'm going to stuff it with some walnut shells. These are ground walnut shells here. You can get them in pet shops because they are used for reptile bedding. So pour some of that in there and then just use my funnel to gradually fill up the pincushion. It's a little bit like a beanbag in some ways. But the good thing about the walnut things is partly they're nice and squashy, but also they take the pins really, really well. And they seem to keep the humidity of the whole thing really good. Because I work down in quite a dampish studio. And it's just a really lovely thing. Really lovely thing. So that is what I would suggest stuffing your pincushion with. Go, almost there. And then when I have it looking full, what I will then do is I will go away. I'm going to go and have my lunch, and that will allow everything to settle, and then I will bash it a bit when I come back, and I'm absolutely sure I'll be able to fit some more walnuts into it. So I'll put a pin in here just in case of mishaps. But there we are, almost finished. Just the stuffing and the seaming to do. Back from lunch, and I've refilled my jar of walnut bits, and then I'm just going to take it now spoonful by spoonful and kind of like see how much I can squish into here, because you're always going to get some kind of settling in it. So the more that you can really squash in at this stage, the less likely it is to go saggy. Right, and I think I can probably fit in one more spoonful, and then I'm going to sew it up. You know, I think I'll get even another one in. Then it's going to bend down the edges and pin that so that it is easy to hand sew, because now it's so, there's so much tension in it that it's right, I'm just going to have to jab my pins into the pincushion here to hold it while I sew it. But there you can see that it is now a very nice shape, really nice and round and squishy. So I find a needle, find some thread that matches and do some hand sewing. Use a piece of hand dyed silk. Good size knot so it's not going to come undone. Pop that inside and then just begin sewing. It's very important to make all of the seams really strong on something like a pincushion because it gets a remarkable amount of force when you're actually using it. There. You can't send off a pincushion without pins.